September 2018, RISSKOV. Down to the depths. Down to the depths which we human beings even today still do not understand. Silence spreads here in the office late in the evening, and I've not been able to stop time nor find the time, so that together we can write to you. Every day since you left us in May, I've been thinking of writing a few words to your children and you, but the words are also gone with the time. Nor have I been able to find out what I should say or what I should feel. I've not been able to halt the pace of time or to find the time to relate to the fact that you chose to leave. I've also tried to find a way to return in time to that Friday when we talked one last time, when you asked me a nugget of a question. Natasha, is my time here on Earth over? And I replied, it's up to you. You will have the choice to stay here for a little longer or to say goodbye to this life. I hung up the phone, looked at Rasmus, who stood at the rudder of the boat, and said, I'm afraid that she's given up and chooses to leave me and the Earth. A few days later, you were just gone. It was as if everything stopped for a few minutes, and in the middle of the lawn, with all those people around me, I couldn't feel my knees and my body. My voice couldn't leave my throat. Everything hurt, and I knew that now I was really all alone with the backpack, and my lonely trip in the universal world started right at this moment. I knew I would find it hard to carry the earthly wound, as you will be in contact with me, even though you are not here, because that is what you promised me. Our journey started in autumn 2011 by coincidence, when I booked an appointment with you for my mother, and you asked me, are you sure that it's not you who should take that appointment? I rejected you and booked the appointment for my mother anyway. Kay, your husband, called you a soul doctor, and I have to agree with him that this was exactly what you were. Of course, the appointment was cancelled by my mother at the last minute, and I had to take over the session, which became a landmark day and 2.5 hours of my life. I had just returned from Paris, returning to life after a near-death experience, in this case a dead and back-to-life experience, and had started the end of a hard divorce over 2 years, with all senses on the outside of the body. I had gone from everything to nothing on the material level, and was left alone with 2 children and absolutely nothing but me, my love, my abilities, and a huge reset. It was the biggest quantum leap of my life, but I was fresh on what life had to offer me, and I felt alive, dreaming, and eager to walk the line to make the necessary changes which I needed to be able to achieve what I dreamt about. I could suddenly see and hear for the first time. I could feel myself. I could feel and see dimensions that I couldn't understand. I was the pure atheist who believed only in science, and I could not decode all these new sides of me and the new versions of my inner self. You helped me put everything in place, bit by bit. There is something called the intelligent nature. Comprehend the power of nature by empowering the intelligent nature to understand the ancient language of silence, by connecting to the source of our being, to evolve and survive without harming us or our reason to be. I was exposed. Everything was exposed. For the first time, I was clarified and relieved, and yet I understood nothing. What? How? Why me? Wow. I'd found a gift I didn't know I had. And I was really in trouble, because where could I find the instruction manual? Only one thing was clarified for me. Everything made sense for the first time in 35 years. This was, and is, really a very thought-provoking constellation. A 15-year-old Persian teenage girl who moved from a Muslim country to Denmark in the early 90s, and who was a total atheist from childhood, ends up being married to a Danish man and divorced after 13 years. Being a single mother with 2 children, she begins the wildest and most intense journey through the so-called spiritual world, where philosophy and quantum physics, as well as psychology, becomes the turning point of her world. She ends up exploring the teachings of the body and the various treatment worlds, and then geeks out with building concepts, developing an algorithm about emotions, and the meta-duality theory. Consciousness behind innovation and leadership for divergent people. She also ended up as an entrepreneur within the world of management. She rounded everything off through several jobs in the labor market and being a director of 3 different owner-managers. She's tried to connect the different corners of the world with knowledge to provide a new way of perspective, holistically oriented, a pipe of the collection of tales which will become the next chapters and upcoming books. It's thought-provoking to see yourself from the outside, like a stranger. And yes, think for a moment. She is actually me who writes this book. For me, there is today no spiritual world, only a universal world, which none of us have any idea what it is. But everything is energy, which has an intelligent purpose. When solutions are in the words that echo from the past in silence, the words are the currency. This is so simple. This is 1 + 1 = 2. We humans are here to be happy by learning to use all of our abilities. Life is unpredictable, can never be predicted, but it is to be lived. Today, I call this world the universal world, and have my convictions based on my experiences, my learnings, and having sorted dirt from cinnamon separately, a Danish saying. Without you, I had never found the missing link inside me, the one that created my inner wholeness. In 2013, you became my mentor, and shortly after, a mother, who was brave enough to follow me on my beautiful journey until 2018, and I was allowed to accompany you on yours. The first thing you told me as my mentor was, if you choose to walk the way, which is your way, you must prepare for the fact that you'll always feel alone and lonely, but you'll feel whole, and you'll be able to help many people. You were my wall, against which I threw all my balls, my wild thoughts and theories. You were my support stitch, my friend, my mother, and most greatest of all, the other side of the coin, the other half. You saw one side and I saw the other. We stood back to back and watched the world out of 2 windows. It was a journey like no other, which not many have the privilege to experience. Humble, affectionate, with a lot of tenderness, a stubborn and tough woman, an entrepreneur and an artist, creative, a fantastic mother and mentor, comprehensive, extremely clever intuitively, a beautiful, deep and great soul who made a difference to many I know, are few words by which I can describe you here on the go. The doctor of the soul, as Kay called you. All humans are created alone. We are created to be best at developing ourselves alone. Even though we think and dream alone, we are not alone. But instead we are depending on each other and everything that exists around us. Together, we can achieve greater results. There were, and are, many who want me to write, hold courses, give lectures, take in clients and customers. We often talked about this, and that it just didn't yet feel right for me to take up this idea. I wonder if the time has come now. When I agreed to become the managing director of a small company, you wrote me an email with some important messages that didn't make sense at that time. But everything makes sense today. You wrote, among other things, that I was not yet ready to go out with everything I had inside me, that the time wasn't right. Funny how time is always a challenge, or does us a favor. I've met many strangers recently who, directly, or without knowing anything about anything, walked up to me and asked, "When are you going to start it all?" Most recently, when I was attending the champagne bar at the Smukfest in Skanderborg, Denmark, I was poked on my shoulder and almost scolded for standing still on my way, and the person concerned hoped that I would soon get started. A little weird, terrifying, funny, and yet thought-provoking. When the universe is crying out loud, we cannot avoid hearing it. It'll make sure that we hear and see the signs. I do not know if I doubt too much, or if it is something about time again. And yet I wonder if I do know. I'm scared without being able to feel that I'm scared, for when is the time? The only thing I know right now is that I am going to start at chapter 0, and that I want to dedicate this book to you, as you were the catalyst of it all, the reason why my life changed its course, why I found myself, who I was, what I wanted, and what I was able to do, and you showed me how I could find my way. I miss you physically every single day, but I feel you throughout the day and hear you clearly. You called me and my life the phoenix bird. I didn't understand it then, but all that I didn't understand at that time, I understand more and more as time goes on. To be original, you don't have to understand why others don't understand yet. However, you need to understand you, your energy blueprint, which one day will create the understanding, timing. I didn't want to finish writing the book or sharing anything with anyone until now because the time wasn't right. You were right. For now, I have the reason I was missing. The book is written in your honor, and I promised you once that I will tell you out loud how the other side of the coin can also appear. The introduction of the book is a greeting and a big thank you to you, my dearest mother, who was the catalyst for the next chapters, as you were when you came into my life in 2011 and opened the door to a new world of mysteries, which was my playground, my way. The story started with our meeting in 2011, where everything ended for me with my old life, and I stood by nothing. Now, again, everything starts from nothing, as you are no longer here, and your story here on earth has ended. Your end will be the beginning of starting all the new things which need to come out, and which we discussed, tossed and turned over many years. Most lovingly, your daughter, Natty. This book is based on a composition of 4 books. Book 1 is my story and a brief presentation of the thought form, the meta-duality theory, the law of consciousness and the philosophy behind it. Book 2 looks at the meta-duality theory, the law of consciousness, consisting of a 2-part law: combined consciousness ability and sustained consciousness ability, along with 6 hypotheses. Book 3 looks at my way through life, my story in brief, which ends with a collection of inspirational stories from Camino Francis, which again is a collection where we link the theory, the laws, and the hypotheses with our everyday experiences when we walk. Book 4 is a quote book put together with the relevant pages. And finally, a brief explanation about the ancient academy, the intelligent algorithm as an end product of the theories, the laws and the hypotheses, and how everything is built together like a business. Everything in life is a choice. Everything is okay to choose. Everything is nothing. Choosing nothing is everything. Everything starts and ends from nothing. The core of every human being is everything and nothing. It depends on the choice we make. If we transfer nothing to everything, to choose everything, we must start with nothing.